Excuse me, could you point me in the direction of Scream City? Never mind, I think I found it.
Hello, horror freaks. Welcome to season 2 of Scream City. I'm your host, Jessica.
And I'm Monica. And yes, as Jessica said, we are officially in season 2 of our show. And today's episode, we will be talking about the classic horror film, The Exorcist.
Yes, but of course, before we continue on with the movie, let's start with our peak and pit of these past couple of days that we haven't seen each other. So, Monica, what has been your peak and pit recently?
I'm going to say I think my pit is just the past 9 days. Jessica and I just got through having the conversation of how much gun violence has happened here in Texas. And so I think it's such an unfortunate thing for us to have to live with. And it just raises my anxiety so much about being in public.
Yeah.
And so if anything, it's making me more of a hermit crab. But it's just really sad for having to see Texas families go through these things. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, my peak, I think, is honestly, I think because I've become such more of a hermit crab, I don't hang out with a lot of people. And really the only people I hang out with now are just like my family and like you guys, like my 4 friends. And so I think it's just allowing me to kind of, not that I didn't before, but like really cherish the people who I have around me, which is honestly not a lot of people, which I appreciate. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing.
Understood.
What about you?
Same thing with the peak. It's just it honestly hurts so much, especially us living in Texas and all of this going on in the past 9 days.
You said your peak. You meant your pit.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My pit. I meant to say my
It's
pit.
okay. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, my pit is this going on right now in not just Texas, but you know, everywhere.
But for the past, like literally the beginning of this whole month is just that.
Yeah.
But
it sucks. But of course, you know, we try our best to be as safe as we can and all of that. And honestly, the Allen event occurred very close to one of the locations of my hospital where I work at, so that was also very scary. But yeah, that's pretty much just been my peak, just thinking about, you know, all the lives lost due to gun violence.
100%.
Sorry, my pit, I don't know why I keep saying peak. Anyway,
that's your pit.
My pit. So my peak, finally,
right,
is that I finished my first year at school today, actually.
Good.
Yeah. Well, today's the last day that like everything was to turn in.
Yeah.
So I'm officially, that's definitely a weight off my shoulders.
Yeah, 100%. School is definitely a different type of, I told this to my coworker the other day. I'm like, school stress is like this other type of form of stress that I honestly don't ever want to encounter ever again. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Continue through school because couldn't be me.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
And luckily I'm not taking any summer classes right now, so literally just be living la vida loca.
Living la vida loca during the summer.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And having fun.
I think we had mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned this in our last episode, but like I think we were talking about this like in the group chat, how we just really think that the summer is going to be like really great.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the summer. I don't like the summer. I'm not a fan of the heat.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. But I like the summer vibes.
Yeah.
So,
and these past couple of days have been giving us a hint of what summer's going to look like, because it is hot.
It is very humid. We're definitely going through our little spring transition with like the rain and everything, so it's bringing out a lot of the humidity, and then season 2 is going to be held during the summer, so I'm really excited because we kind of have a lineup of what we want to talk about this season, and I'm really excited.
Me too.
We have
they're kind of summer related, which makes it even more exciting, because
horror doesn't always have to be in the fall. We have some really good movies that definitely give us huge summer vibes, so we're really excited to cover those. But to kick off our very first episode, we're going to talk about The Exorcist. Damn. Okay. So like we mentioned in every episode, so that's not going to change, but there will be spoilers. So don't say that we didn't warn you. This movie has been out for an extremely long time. So I hope that you have had a chance to see it. But if you're not much of a horror fan, you just want to know what the movie's about, then great. continue listening. Now, to give a brief summary of the movie. So when a teenage girl is possessed by a mysterious entity, her mother seeks the help of 2 priests to save her daughter. Yeah. It is a very vague and simple, to the point.
Yes.
And honestly, that's
all you need to know.
Plot. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
But now that we have that out of the way, Monica, I know you have some very strong feelings towards this movie, so
Just a bit.
Why don't I give you the honors of saying what your first impression watching this film was for the first time, and what you would say your favorite scene and kill is.
So I don't remember my first impression because I watched it at a really young age, maybe anywhere between like 8, 11, probably even younger, to be honest, but I don't remember. So my first impression was that I was scared. I made it an oath to myself to never watch this movie again unless I really had to. And here I am, a grown adult, watching this movie again because I had to. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, it's not as bad as young me remembers. So we've definitely been through some tough times where this movie is the least of our worries.
Right.
100%. But I will say, like, rewatching it, my sister and my brother-in-law held like a little bit of a movie night after I told them that I had to watch this movie. I really like it.
Yeah.
I think for an overall movie, it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say that I'm not joking when I say I haven't watched this in a very long time. So there was the parts where Regan is possessed,
mm-hmm.
I could have sworn that those scenes were so much longer, but they weren't. They were like less than 5 minutes. Solid 3.
I think they probably feel a little bit longer when you're genuinely terrified.
I guess that's 100% true, because I could have sworn the scene where she's stabbing herself with the crucifix. Mm-hmm. I could have sworn that scene was like 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And it was like 2.
Yeah.
So I think that's 100% true. So I wasn't as terrified for sure. I think being grown. I think now I've definitely seen 100% more disturbing things in horror movies, and this was a little bit on the bottom list, but it's still an overall like really good movie, and I really enjoyed it.
Right.
My favorite scene. So I actually love the whole scene of the actual exorcism and the scene where she's levitating and her eyes are completely white.
Yeah.
Sickening.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Love. I've seen that kind of scene on a lot of posters and t-shirts, and I never actually went out of my way. I actually don't have a lot of Exorcist merch. That needs to change. So,
well, you probably didn't have any because
I was just so scared. I also, again, it was the whole, I guess, you know what also, and I think maybe also a thing too, is like, I'm not religious anymore. I don't even know if I would consider myself religious when I was younger. I was very impressionable. That's just how I grew up. But now I'm not that religious, so that's also probably why it doesn't seem as scary to me either. Right. So I was very scared of basically owning something that was exorcism or like the Exorcist kind of themed.
Understood.
And then being like possessed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now I need every single poster and every single t-shirt with just that scene where she's like levitating. It's really cool.
It's such a good one.
Yeah. And this isn't really a scene, but I really, I voiced it a couple of times when we were watching the movie, but Chris McNeil, so the mom's wardrobe in this movie, chef's kiss.
Absolutely.
Because her stylist had her slaying the entire film.
100%. From beginning to end.
Literally from beginning to end, and I cannot thank her more. Like, it was freaking amazing, and we're going to talk about her a little bit later once we mention the cast, but I really just love also Ellen, is it Burstyn?
Burstyn.
Yeah, she's a queen. I mean, favorite kill, so we don't really get, I think, actual kills. If anything, we get like 3 to 4 deaths, and we don't even really get to see them. Really, other than Damien dying.
Right.
Because we watch him push himself out the window, but which I don't even think he dies, because we see him in Exorcism 3, and then I think he's possessed in that movie. So I don't really know. I haven't seen that one also in a very long time. But either way, I think I'm going to go with Langster Marins, which is basically the priest that we see at the beginning of the movie, and then at the end that helps with the exorcism. Like how Damien walks into the room afterwards, and then he finds him dead. Regan is like in the corner of the bed laughing, and then Damien just like lays into her. I think it's really sad because we kind of see him a little bit in the beginning and then a little bit at the end. I think I just kind of liked it because it was just, I don't know.
I think it's kind of, what's the word? The fact that he found this statue /
like the little head statue.
Yeah, and then it's what killed him.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know what it was about, because honestly, like I said, we don't have a lot. So we don't see Burke's happen. We just kind of, we just see the aftermath pretty much of it. Damien's mother dies, but we also don't see that. And then, and then the two fathers, which I'm like, I mean, you don't really have a lot of deaths to go with here, but I'll choose his just because I was like, it's kind of sad. Yeah. Because the fact that, like, it was probably his heart that gave him out, because I'm sure Reagan did maybe some type of powerful thing to stop his heart, but pretty sad. Yeah. So I think I'm just going to go with that. But what about yours? First impression?
So, first impression, I could not be able to tell you when the first time I watched this was. I want to say that I walked in on someone watching it. I don't know if it was my dad. I don't know if it was my sister. And I just kind of like
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, but like I didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Monica mentioned, we recently had a movie night and we watched it, and it was really good.
I liked it.
It was really, really good. It gave me like, it gave me Conjuring vibes. It gave me a little bit of like Insidious vibes.
I think that's definitely I think we can definitely consider The Exorcist 1973 to be like a platform of like a classic.
Yeah.
And so I can definitely see how so many horror movies after this one got inspiration from this. And so I love that I see a lot of also this movie and a lot of other movies too. Yeah. So I agree.
So yeah, first impression, I thought it was really good. It definitely had, I feel like a lot of people think that 60s and 70s and sometimes a little bit of 80s horror films aren't so scary anymore. Of course they were at their prime time, but you know, I feel like a lot of people right now are like, oh, you know, it's whatever. Like this movie is
terrifying.
It was spooky.
I would say for a 1970s movie, this movie it's vulgar. It's terrifying. I think it also it's very discomforting and very like disturbing to watch. And I think it's also because she's supposed to be 12.
It also kind of gave me Evil Dead Rise vibes. Yeah. Specifically Evil Dead Rise vibes, only because, and I think I might get into this a little bit later. It's because this demon is possessing this body that is no longer possessing the body of a human that is no longer here. You know,
like her soul, quote unquote.
Or I'm trying to think. I can't really think at the top of my head, but basically, the host. Yes. The host is not.
Like present. The soul isn't there, so
it's
then
not there.
It's
just the body.
Demon, the entire. Yeah. Okay.
And it's so scary to be like that person, like Reagan was there at 1 second, and then the next second she's just not there anymore. She's just gone. I feel like that's one of the creepiest things to me.
I think that's also what's so scary about possession in general. Like even in Paranormal Activity, we can kind of see the switch in Katie too. Like once she gets possessed, and then it's kind of like you don't see who she was anymore.
Right.
And I think it's so scary to see the soul of someone just leave their eyes. Given we're talking about movies, and I think that's also another good reason to justify someone's great acting. If you can switch from being scared to being lifeless. Yeah. So.
But yeah, that's just from my first impression. My favorite scene. I thought it was. I liked it for many reasons, but when the psychologists first visit, when the mom is at the hospital with the psychologist and he like leaves the room and he's like, it's a symptom.
No, it's a symptom.
I'll tell you that. It's a symptom of something.
And the fact that there was not like, given it was the 70s, and I think if this doesn't show you how the 70s sort of like what the 70s was like, this movie will show you the epitome of it. Not one person went without having a cigarette in their hand.
Oh, 100%.
And I love that.
100%.
I'm sure.
I'm surprised Reagan didn't have one.
Exactly. I'm surprised that I didn't see Pazuzu trying to insert some in him. Yeah, in that exact scene, literally the doctor comes out. He's like, it's a symptom, while putting a cigarette in his mouth. I love that.
Yeah. But
that
yeah,
was a really funny scene.
When the psychologists visit Reagan's house,
Oh my gosh, she was so funny.
and they walk into the room, and Reagan's like obviously going through whatever. She's like jumping on her bed and everything.
Crazy. Yeah.
And then she just smacks the shit out of the psychologist.
Hilarious.
That shit was so funny.
That shit was so funny.
I was like, you go, girl.
Absolutely.
Don't let a grown man touch you.
No, I 100%. That's actually really funny.
Yeah.
I love that. Because, yeah, I mean, I think we can get into it here in just a second once you say your favorite kill, but you can go first.
But, yeah, it was definitely a scene, and I really, it was a scene.
It was a scene. Because
Just like it was a symptom.
It was a symptom. That shit was so funny.
Yeah, no, I really, it was kind of hard. It is hard to think of a favorite scene just because this movie overall is just so good. To me,
really long
I
movie.
think it's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then for favorite kill, like Monica mentioned, again, we don't really see too many.
So it's more like deaths.
Yeah,
Which
just
one kind of hit you the
deaths.
hardest?
Yeah, which one hit me the hardest
Right.
was Damien's.
I was going to choose his too, but then I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
I'll choose the other father.
Well, okay, then I'll choose Damien.
Yeah.
Yeah, Damien, I thought it was so sad. First of all, okay, unpopular opinion, but at least someone agrees with me.
No, and you know what? I think I know what you're going to say, and I agree with you now too.
Okay, great, thank you.
I see it.
Yes. Tell me why Damien kind of looked like Pedro Pascal.
He does, and I'm telling you, it's this
It's
right
the-
here.
the
It's
nose.
the nose and the mouth chin combo that like Hispanics and like Mexicans or like Italians have, because it's like the nose and then the upper lip part.
Yeah.
That just makes it. I can't describe it, but like I see it in every Hispanic man.
Yeah. No, I
And I don't think Jim Miller is Hispanic. I think he's Italian, but I could be wrong. But I can see it.
Yeah.
I can definitely see it.
Yeah.
I noticed it. It was so funny because my brother-in-law was also like, right?
Yeah.
So we're saying we need to remake The Exorcist and then have Pedro Pascal as Damien.
100%. 100. Like, I was literally thinking that. And then I think it was Eric.
Yeah, he was
your
like,
brother-in-law
I
that was
see
like,
it.
he needs to play Damien. I was like, I just said the same. Or I just thought the same
100%.
thing.
I
Yeah.
can see it.
But anyway, yes. The death that hit me the most
It was a hard one.
Was Damien's, because Homeboy was already losing his religion.
Yeah, like he was, and I think before
Losing
I
his
had
faith.
chosen, like he was already kind of at a point of his life where he was just kind of like going through life very like I don't even know anymore. Like I don't have my mother to take care of. I don't think it mentions that he has like a wife or anything like that.
I don't think so,
I don't
since
think
he was a priest or whatever.
since he became a priest, and like he was a psychologist for a long time, but then he went into Catholicism, and then he was just kind of like, I'm losing that too, so I'm like, I don't even know anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, he just lost so much. All of that, right? Like, he's going through all this shit, and then he's like, I can't lose something else. You know, like,
He saw the opportunity to
if he
help save one
right,
person.
yeah. If he, saves her, I don't know. Yeah, it was just.
I like
so
the
sad.
fact that he chose like this was kind of his chance to be able to save someone. So one, he's saving a little girl from being harmed continuously more by being possessed. So I feel like it's kind of both of his jobs in one, if that made sense. So psychology and like being a doctor,
Right.
and then also being like a priest or a father. So I feel like both of those jobs combined, he was able to save the one person. So I feel like it made him feel good. It was also really sad, like when he gave like his last confession to his friend, and he was just kind of like squeezing his hand. I'm like, oh, that's sad.
Very
That's
sad.
really upsetting.
And then just seeing like the Pazuzu, which by the way,
Pazuki.
Why is that name so slay? That name was so slay. Like, I want to name my cat Pazuzu.
I'm like, you know what? My next black cat, yes, 100% Pazuzu.
Pazuzu.
And they're gonna be like, what is that? And be like, it's
a
the
demon.
demon.
It's a demon. Yes, ma'am.
Because let me tell you something. Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Agreed.
Right now, my cat is a demon.
Yeah, 100%.
So I might just change her name to Pazuzu.
Give her the middle name.
Autumn Pazuki. Autumn Pazuzu.
Reina.
Autumn Pazuzu. Reina.
Autumn Pazuzu. Reina.
I love
there
that.
You go.
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah. So.
No, I agree though.
Yeah. His death was really sad, and I think what I was trying to go with, or trying to say, is when the Pazuzu was transferring over to him, and he didn't look like himself, and it was just so sad.
Like, you can see the demon enter him.
Yeah.
It's like really...
And then the fact that he was quick with it to jump out the window before he could harm Reagan.
Yeah.
Love that man.
Yeah. He deserved better other than death, but he was ready.
He was ready.
Like he was good. But I'm telling you, because I think in The Exorcist Part 3, if I remember correctly, they do studies. Like, there's, like, videotapes of him being studied while he's possessed. But I have not. Though that's the one movie that because it was a follow-up of The Exorcist, I never saw it all the way through. I think I was seeing bits and pieces, and I just was like, nah, I don't want to watch this. So I can see that.
Interesting.
So before to get into the cast, we'll just discuss the movie a little bit more. I will say, I think something that I picked up on this movie, and I think I've heard people say before, but as an adult and like watching this movie, I feel like this movie is definitely a lot more about the mom's story and her struggling with it versus like Regan. Because damn, does that woman go through so much emotion and so much stress. Another reason why I just love Ellen, I feel like she plays a motherly role so well, because I've seen her play a mother role or even a grandmother role in like different movies before, and she does so well. She slays as this, and I think it's really sad to have to see the mother go through so much stress. To like imagine like you had, in our case, our cats, they got really, really sick. Yeah. They were possessed. Right.
Which, I mean, they already are.
Which they already are, because damn. But, like, going through so many doctors and spending so much money on, like, psychologists, like, all these different types of people. And then finally, one of the psychologists was like, have you thought about priest? And she's like, a witch doctor? And then I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Because she was like, are y'all religious? And she's like, no. And she's like, is your daughter religious? And she's like, no, I don't think so.
I will say, I thought it was so funny when she was when she got told that Burke died. Why was she just staring at him, right? And then like it processed, and she was just like, she just turns around so dramatic,
like, no!
and she's like, no.
The drama.
Now that is an actress.
100%.
That is acting.
I love that and then my sister pointed out, she was like, I don't know how I never picked up that they were rich. Yeah. And then, like, at the beginning of the movie, I thought that because I had to ask, I'm like, is that a maid and a butler? Or are they, like, her grandparents or something? Because it was a man and a woman. So I didn't know. But, yeah, I mean, they had butler, they had a maid, she had an assistant, which she slayed as a side character. Slayed. She was in a lot of these movies, or not a lot of movies, she was in a lot of these scenes. And the way that she had to act so distressed by, like, oh my God. She slayed. Love her. And then she had a driver. Like, they had money.
They sure did.
So I'm glad that she had the money to go to all of these doctors just for them to tell her.
And
like,
look at her being a rich, independent woman who don't need
no man. No man needed whatsoever.
Except for the priest.
Except for the priest.
But that's okay.
I loved it. But that's kind of what I picked up on too. I was like, this is the story of this plot line is essentially the mother
more focused on
the mother and how much she had to struggle with this, because that's terrifying.
Absolutely.
I love how when the same scene where he's like, it's a symptom, and she's like, and he tried to kind of dismiss the fact that her bed was shaking, and then he was like, epileptic seizures, and she's like, bitch, I was on the bed. It was not her, it was the bed. And he's like, well, you know, like,
yeah, that sucks.
It's a symptom, bro.
It's a symptom.
So if your bed is shaking, and not just you, but like if your whole bed is shaking, just know that it's a symptom.
It's a symptom. Symptom. You're not being possessed. It's just a symptom.
It's just a symptom. That shit was so funny. We started dying.
It reminded me of like It's a movie. It's a movie.
It's a movie, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about it other than, yeah, that's exactly what it was.
We should name this episode.
I was literally about to say we should name this episode It's a Symptom.
Because guess what? It is a line in the movie.
It's a line in the movie, and he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
I mean, it's a symptom of something.
Of something.
Yeah, but he damn well, he knew. He just knew why he puts a cigarette in his mouth. That is like the funniest thing to me, too. Like, this is like the epitome of like the 70s. Like, doctors really believed that cigarettes were a cure to any type of disease instead of thinking that it was causing a disease. Right. And so I just think, like, I don't know. This movie had so many funny lines, and it has
this
some
was
definitely
a very like
comedy
and
relief.
It's not even that it was unintentional. Like, this movie was genuinely funny.
This movie was funny.
It was genuinely
I'm
funny.
telling you, when she slapped the shit out of that doctor, laughed so hard.
And when she was saying all that nasty shit.
She was
saying some nasty shit, and I was like, little girl, you better wash your mouth with soap.
Absolutely. What was she saying? She called the doctor a motherfucker of some sort because they were going to give her a shot to sedate her. And, man.
Yeah, it was pretty gross.
But I loved it. I think I overall really liked the movie. I think I can appreciate it now. I think that's kind of where I'm at. I can now appreciate the movie, and I really liked... I liked everything about it. I definitely need some merch now.
100%.
I feel comfortable having some Reagan merch up in my room now. Movie poster at least, you know? So, coming soon.
I liked as well, Father Damien was like, when the demon or Reagan was like, what an excellent day for an exorcism.
He's like,
and then the father's like, but wouldn't that drive you out from Reagan? And the demon's like, no, it would bring us together.
I love that.
And then he's like, you and Reagan? And she's like, no, you and us.
You and us. Like me, her, and you.
Yeah, it's a little trio.
I like
the Three Musketeers, if I may.
I was also so obsessed with when she telepathically, is that the word? When she made the drawer open. And then he was like, he closed it. He's like, can you do it again? And she's like, within time. And he's like, no, do it right now. And she's like, no, I'll do it.
And then
she was like, I'll do it when I want to, bitch.
She's out here insulting a dead man. No,
a man's dead mother. Yeah.
She said, your mother sucks. You know what? In hell, you faithless slime.
Yep.
Ma'am.
First of all, she just died. Give her a break. Or give him a break, you know? She was, I think that's also something that made this movie pretty funny is like, she was quick with it.
She was quick with
She was so quick with the comebacks and the lines. She was like, can't nobody, you can't tell me nothing that I haven't already told myself.
And when she's like, now kindly undo these straps, and he's like, if you're the devil, why not make the straps disappear? And she's like, that's much too vulgar a display of power. I'm like, you okay? Yes, ma'am.
She said, slay, bitch. She's like, trust me, you don't want to know what I'm capable of. Now kindly undo these straps.
And then one last one, but like, when the other priest is like, I cast you out, unclean spirit, and the demon's like, shove it up your ass. And, like, she really is something else.
She really was quick with it, and I think that's something that women now should appreciate. Like, just have a little bit of devil in you. A little bit of Pazuzu.
A little bit of Bazooki.
A little bit of pizzazz. A little bit of pizzazz Pazuki in you.
Yeah.
You just need to be able to tell these men off.
Yeah.
Because damn. I love that for her. She's honestly an iconic queen.
Yeah.
Now that I kind of realize. Yeah. I should have watched this a long time ago.
But finally getting a little bit into the cast, of course, this cast was pretty great. Again, I don't really have any huge complaints about the cast.
And we still have some of these people around.
Yeah.
And I love.
Yeah. Some of them.
Some. We'll get into that.
But of course we have Linda Blair, Ellen Burstyn, Jason Miller, Max von Sydow, Jack McGowan,
something like that.
Mercedes Mackenbridge, Vasiliki Malarios.
I'm assuming that's Italian of some sort.
Very Italian.
So if you say it, Vasiliki Malarios. Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do think Jason Miller does give off Italian vibes. Maybe he's just like a million years generations.
I think so. I think he might be generations down, but he definitely has like the
So,
European type of
100%.
face.
But yeah, and just like a bunch of other people
Mm-hmm.
that were in this movie. Just great. Overall
We
great.
still have Linda Blair,
Mm-hmm.
which she's also in Scream. If she does
course.
a little cameo for people who probably didn't notice her. I don't know if we mentioned it in the Scream episode. I think we did. But she plays a reporter who tries to interview Cindy, and she's like, I think behind Gil Weathers or something, or she's like passing by or something. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen Ellen Burstyn in a few other things, and I love her.
Mm-hmm.
I love her so much. I think she exudes mother,
Right.
and I love it.
She
so
is
much.
mother.
She is mother.
Yeah.
And I'm obsessed with it. I don't know. I just really like her. I've seen her in a few other things too. I will say I don't think I've seen her in a whole like of the other people in a whole bunch of other stuff. So we can get into some few facts here, which I feel like this movie has been out for a really long time, and it has a bit of a reputation of like things that have happened with this film and things like that. And I feel like it's the same thing kind of as The Conjuring. A lot of things happened to cast and crew and behind the scenes that really made believe that this movie itself was possessed and the making of it. So kind of naming a few things. So both Linda Blair and Ellen Burstyn were both injured with equipment on set. So the scene where Regan is flipping, like her upper body is flipping up and down over and over. She has like a belt of some sort, hydraulics attached to her that's making her go that way. Like making her go back and forth. And in the movie, the scene, she's yelling like, oh my God, please stop, it hurts. She's also yelling mother. So I think that's maybe also why maybe the cast or the crew who was like filming, they were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But she was yelling repeatedly that it hurt, and she, like, if you watch the scene, you'll know what I'm talking about, but she's just yelling and that it hurts and that she's in pain.
She's telling them to stop too.
But she was telling, that wasn't her acting, that was her telling the people who were filming, like, please stop, like, I am in so much pain. And I think it basically injured her back, and I'm assuming, because that, honestly, if you look at the scene, she was going hard. Mm-hmm. Like, it looked really intense. So, I believe that. And then she said it in a few interviews, too, that was something. But then Ellen Burstyn also said that she also was hurt by equipment. So the scene that I find disturbing, which is where she's, like, stabbing herself with the crucifix, she also gets, like, she's, like, slapping her mom around, and she ends up throwing her against the wall. And in that scene, Ellen Burstyn is attached to, like, a harness that kind of yanks her. And when she fell, I think something happened to where her back got, like, she hit her back and I think her head really hard. So she pretty much got, like, her spine was injured. And I think she said permanently. So I don't know what all exactly happened, but she got hurt pretty bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm like, I mean, these people are really going hard. So a lot of the things that we see, I guess, are real, maybe. I can't remember exactly what it was. I wrote some of these off the top of my head. The woman who
Mercedes Mackenbridge?
Yes, Mercedes Mackenbridge. She is Pazuzu. Okay, she is the one that slays the lines.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So she plays the voice when Regan is possessed. And she had said in an interview that she smoked cigarettes. What was her other thing?
Drank whiskey or something like that?
Drank whiskey.
Yeah.
And then, I guess, maybe drank some raw eggs to keep the rasp in her voice. And, I mean, her voice is pretty...
I thought it was a man.
I thought it was a man, too. But it's a woman. And in order to keep that rasp in it, she had to go through a certain diet. Just kind of... I just feel like these actors go through so much just to be able to perform.
Like, deliver a good...
Yes, to deliver a great performance.
Yeah, a great performance.
So, shout out to the people who are very... I mean, not that the cigarettes and maybe whiskey was even... Like, I feel like that was a diet back in the 70s.
Right,
like, that was just part of what,
Yeah,
what
70s culture. Exactly.
So that's really cool. And we honestly thought it was a man, but it's a woman. Miss Mercedes. I think the two main things that made people believe that the making of this movie was, possess possessing. So the set caught on fire. Was it a couple times or was it just the one time? I don't remember.
I think it was just one time.
I think the set caught on fire once, and they couldn't find where the fire began. So
because there's literally no scenes.
There was no scenes with fire whatsoever. They couldn't find an electrical fuse that maybe sparked something. They couldn't find, what was it? They couldn't find like an arsonist that maybe started this fire. And you know what that kind of reminds me of? You know, in that scene in Paranormal Activity where the Ouija board catches on fire just by itself? I'm going to assume it's something like that because, I mean, they had a Ouija board on scene. But anyway, but the thing is that so the set caught on fire and the only room that was spared in the fire was Regan's room. Which is where the possession happens and where she's kept. So
that's why I don't fuck with shit like that, bro.
Absolutely not. And then this is coming from like the actual cast and crew. Like there's interviews of them talking about this, and so even them, they were like, "Damn." But I wonder if they noticed any of these things, and then somebody was like, "We should stop."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Absolutely not." They're like, "This is Hollywood." Yeah. And they're like, "Okay." And then also there are some deaths that happened in the cast and the crew. So the two main people that we see on screen that actually died, I don't know how long after the film or even during the film, but Vasiliki, Damien's mother.
Damien's mom.
She dies in the movie, but she also died in real life, as well as Burke Dennings. Burke Dennings dies in the movie, who we don't see, but he's the first one to fall out the window and like, roll down the stairs and die. And then he also died. But I don't know how far after the film, or if maybe it was during, but they both ended up dying.
Was it Linda Blair and someone else, probably Ellen, lost family members as well during filming?
That's true. I think it was Ellen. I think Ellen lost some family members as well while filming.
Yeah.
So there was like, I don't know, I think it's just, it's kind of
just
morbid.
Cursed.
And like a curse that kind of just happened. But everyone... Yeah, there was like a lot of deaths that kind of correlate with the filming this movie, and so I feel like it just makes it even more sad to kind of know. But and then the last thing, which is it's a fact, but I think it's also kind of interesting, is that if you didn't know, this movie is also based on a book. It's called The Exorcist, and that book is based or it's inspired by a case from 1949 of a boy who was possessed and had to go through an exorcism. I don't know the full details for that, but I think it's also interesting. I also heard somewhere that like, which I now kind of knowing this fact, it's definitely wrong. But supposedly the writing of The Exorcist was also a way to get people to believe in religion again, because people were kind of sort of not shying away, but kind of like
moving to I feel like spirit I feel like the 70s was more like spiritual stuff.
Like instead of God, it's more like the earth
and universe,
and then the universe. Like yes, people started believing more in like spirituality and
hippies.
And slay, which is fine.
But
people were not believing in God as much anymore, and so in order to kind of get people to be scared and to kind of scare people back into religion, which red flag, right? They wrote, I feel like they made maybe the book a lot more gruesome and a lot more scary per se, and then along with that came the movie. And so I feel like honestly, if I was at a young age in the 70s at that time, I would have tried to believe in God at that time.
100%.
Definitely terrifying.
100%.
But people were also giving barf bags. We saw in a video of like the facts that we were watching, but people, whenever this movie came out in theaters, people were given barf bags at the theater just in case people couldn't handle. Which, to be fair,
yeah,
disgusting.
They should have done that for Terrifier 2. That would have been a great marketing.
Imagine like a little barf bag with his face on it.
Yeah. That
would have been funny.
Also, a woman sued. Was it Warner Brothers? Or she sued the movie, period, because she passed out watching the movie, and she was like, the movie did something to me that made me pass out.
Yeah, like basically saying like the movie itself was cursed, which I'm like, ma'am, you probably
that's just because you can't hold your...
You just weak.
Your horror.
You
can't hold your horror.
Bitch.
Okay?
Absolutely. And I 100% believe that woman is one of those Karens that tries to find money in anything.
Yeah.
So, sad for her. But...
Anyway.
Yeah. Few facts of this movie. And I feel like because of these kind of morbid details that happen behind the scene make me shy away from the movie even more. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, they're gruesome and they're sad, but I'm now a fan.
Yeah.
I love this movie a lot.
Me too.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. All right, let's move on a little bit. That was a lot.
Yeah. But finally, moving on a little bit more with the episode. So for season 2, we wanted to start doing a new little segment where we decide whether or not we agree with the Rotten Tomatoes rating, because we, as movie watchers, know that they don't always get it right.
Right.
So this movie has an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you think this is justified?
I want to say yes.
Same.
Because I don't think it's 100%.
Same.
But I don't think it should be like in the 60s.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think 84 is like a really
literally
good,
a perfect
it's
number.
like a good point.
Yeah.
Because it's not low, but it's not too high.
Like, I even wouldn't be mad if it was at 83 or 85.
Yeah. Like,
You know?
anywhere in between.
But anywhere else below or above that,
I think is either
wouldn't-
giving it too much expectation
Yeah.
or not giving it what it deserves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree with this one.
Overall, and we're going to get into...
Our own specific ratings.
Yeah,
And stuff.
a little bit in a second. But yeah, I mean, 84 is a perfect number.
I think so. I don't think it's awful. I just thought it would be funny to because I know sometimes we get movies that get like, this movie has a 16%, and we're like, what?
This is a 100 in our
This
eyes.
is a 110.
Or sometimes it has like a 90 and we're like, this is a 0.
This is a 10%.
Uh-huh.
Where the fuck did
Yes,
you get
ma'am.
90? Yeah, absolutely. Someone's math was mathing with this movie.
Right.
Yeah,
100%.
and it was
I
it was
agree.
good. So I agree.
Definitely
Okay.
a good start to season 2 because
We
Yeah.
love an 84% movie.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. You can do the would you rather.
but again, moving a little bit further down into the episode, I think it's time for us to play Would You Rather? Yeah.
We need like a little button
I know, right?
so we don't sing it every time.
So for this movie, would you rather be possessed by the demon, aka Pazuzu,
Yeah, Pazuzu.
or live in the same house as possessed Reagan for a month? And this is what I was trying to get at when I was talking about Evil Dead Rise earlier. Because I was like, I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. Basically, I don't like... I mean, who does, right? But knowing that someone who you loved is no longer here with you...
Yeah.
and something evil is possessing them,
it. So you have to kind of watch the person that
just deteriorate.
Yeah.
And it just sucks. And
that is actually
that's
really
why
sad.
Evil Dead Rise hurt me so much because
feelings.
it hurt my feelings because she was she was a hardworking mother.
Yeah. She was doing what she could.
And then all of a sudden she just turns into this like killing machine.
Yeah.
It was just
100%.
It's just not them in there anymore.
That's
And
terrifying.
It's terrifying.
It's awful.
It's just like, it's kind of like evil, obviously, but in humans, but not necessarily demons.
Right.
People who do malicious stuff.
Oh, 100%.
In real world scenarios, it's like,
Like you're not
you. I don't
yeah.
know. I
like
don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, because I mean, sometimes people want to be perceived a certain way, so they're going to act a certain way with you, but then be someone completely different.
Right.
So I feel like that's definitely a whole different scenario. But I agree. I do think that it'd be extremely sad for me to have to watch like Melody get possessed and then being like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
That is not my girl. So
And heck, girl, what if you wake up one day and she's all over you? She's like hovering
in the
over
corner.
you. She's in the corner of your of your
looking
ceiling.
down at me. Mm-hmm. Immediately killing myself.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm grabbing whatever I find nearby and stabbing the fuck out of my neck immediately over. But that's a good one because I don't know. See, I don't know if I would want to be. So the thing also about being in a house with someone who's possessed is you can do what they did and, strap that bitch down and try to not have her move.
Do you think that would have worked in Evil Dead Rise?
If they would have, like...
strapped her down?
I thought that's what they did with the sister, though. And then she ended up, I don't know, still trying to attack people. So that's the thing. Because I'm like...
And I know I'm comparing two movies, but, like, it's the one movie that I I'm kind
you
of
can't help. And I keep
sort
thinking of
comparing it to.
Paranormal Activity because I also am like, that probably would have worked. So my experience with these movies specifically,
My
we're
experience
talking about,
with the exorcisms.
so my experience with exorcisms and like demons specifically is
Right.
that they're really smart.
Yes.
Right. So it's like there's not really anything they can't do. So I'm like, strapping them down isn't going to do a lot, I assume, because when they want to, they're going to. And, or like they're going to make you feel psychologically fucked. Like they're going to get into your head. They're going to talk to you certain ways. They're going, like the way that she mimicked his mother's voice, terrifying. So,
And he was slowly, you know,
like he was giving into
descending
it.
into madness. 'Cause he
Yeah,
was
and then
like,
the
"Wait."
father was like, "Get the fuck out! You're weak.
Yeah, 100%.
You are weak. You are the weakest link. I
Yeah.
cannot have you in here when you're like vulnerable like
Yeah,
this."
when you're going through
And that's also another thing. Again, experience with movies, and I've heard it in The Conjuring. I've heard it in Paranormal Activity. Is that a demon gets you at your lowest? Bitch, I'm depressed
100%.
as hell. Everything gives me anxiety. I am going to be
You're
like
going to
this
win me over.
demon's like.
The demon's going to win
I
me
am
over.
a poster child for this demon.
100%.
So the fact that he would have, I would be a playground for Pazuzu.
He'd be having a field day with us.
Absolutely. So that's the thing. I don't know if I'd rather be possessed and just be the one to cause the harm, or to have to witness.
Yes, but also-
but Reagan specifically, she plays a really good possessed. Like, she's pretty scary. I don't know who the makeup artist was for this, which
they
we should
slayed.
probably know. Tom Savini.
Honestly,
Was he around at this
Maybe,
time? I think
yeah.
probably.
yeah, I think so.
But damn.
What was I gonna say? Okay, here's the thing. It is like I kind of slayed with this, right? I kind of slayed with this. Would you rather? But now that I think about it, like if I'm the one possessed, think about the demon that was intentionally hurting Reagan. Like she was stabbing herself,
That's true.
and she was
Self-harm.
like whipping her hair back and forth.
Bro,
like,
that
you're
360
gonna wake up from
head
that.
twist.
You're gonna wake up from that possession with
That is so true. Can you imagine
fucking arthritis,
how
with a broken back,
arthritis?
with your just bleeding all. Oh no, I don't even know. Oh,
That's true. Because imagine, and then she doesn't remember any of it. So imagine waking up sore as hell.
I'm surprised she was even up and walking the next day.
That's so true. With just like some scars on
How
her
is she
face.
not in the hospital? Because she literally stabbed herself down there.
That's true.
And I'm sure she broke her back from fucking flipping
Flipping
like
back
a
and
fish.
forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
So I guess that's true too. I'm going to say that I'd rather live with her.
okay, same.
I was gonna say I'd rather live with her possessed for a month, because then after like, but when we say living, like, are we talking about like just
every day
minding our own
like,
business, living in
you
our
know.
own space, not
No,
bothering
like
her?
you have to deal with her for a month.
Fuck, like care to her.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can deal with the green vomit though. I have like I think it's called edemophobia, where you're basically like scared. Like I have a phobia of like people vomiting.
Yeah.
And the fact that like she was vomiting up green salsa, that shit, like the avocado salsa,
Yeah.
disgusting. Immediately, no, thank you. So I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
And listen, I'm sure she's dying because she was not taking a shower.
Awful. Oh, another fact that we forgot to mention is that they kept that room like a literal freezer.
Yeah.
In order for them to like record those scenes where they see breath coming out of their mouths. That's because the room was freezing.
I said, why don't they just let them smoke a little vape or something?
She was like, why didn't they give her a vape?
Yeah.
Or a
give-
cigarette?
Or to give the effect of,
Yeah.
air coming
Absolutely.
out of your mouth.
Also, the scene that we get of her head doing a full 360. So that's an animatronic. So it's a whole like animatronic that they made exactly look like Reagan from, everything. And there was a lot of details that they were like, great, the animatronic's finished. It looks great, awesome. But there was a few details that I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was the director, cameraman, people who were kind of inputting their 2 cents, was like, her eyes don't look like, she looks like a doll. And so they were like, okay. So then they made her eyes move. And then they were like, great, everything looks perfect. And they're like, she doesn't have any breath coming out of her mouth. And then they were like, oh. So then they made that feature for her. And then it's like these small details that kind of made everything all put together, because that it looks like her. Mm-hmm. It looks like she did a full 360. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine how cranked her neck would have been? So that's why I'm like, I don't think I'd
Exactly.
want to deal with the aftermath.
And I'm saying, I don't know how she got up and walking the next day, because I would have been dead, probably.
Not just that, but like her mom had to deal with all of that. Can you imagine being afraid of your 13-year-old daughter? Like,
I mean, I can.
her mom
I can't
was
imagine. 13-year-olds are pretty scary.
That's true. Her mom was like being abused by her. Like, it was awful. She's like, my daughter beat my ass.
She sure.
It was awful. So I
sure
wouldn't
did.
have to. I would hate to kind of deal with their response to it, such a traumatic like event that I caused, that I fit, like, mentally was not there for.
Right.
So that's awful. So I think I'd rather just live with Reagan and just kind
Same.
of deal with whatever it is.
Hey, and that's why full hazmat suits exist, because
That's true. You know what? Okay, so we were saying how Pazuzu would also have a field day with us. See, so as much as, yes, I agree that I would probably be an easy target, I feel like I would also fight back, because I'm pretty stubborn.
you are.
Yeah. So I feel like in some cases I would win. You know, it'd be like a battle going back and forth.
Yeah, in this case, I know I have a god complex and everything, because I'm a Leo and all that shit, but I feel like in this case, nah, I'm losing.
Nah, I'm not trying.
I'm not even trying.
No. Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So then we choose to just live with her as a little roommate for about a month. So that's good. Okay. All right. So before we finish, we're going to go ahead and give our own personal ratings to this classic. So like we say in every episode as well, we do have 2 scales for this movie because it is a horror movie. We have our scary scale and our satisfactory scale. Just because the movie is good doesn't always mean it's scary, and vice versa. So, Jessica, what are your ratings for scary and satisfactory?
Yeah. So, scary.
Scale?
I'm gonna give it like a 7.5.
7.5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
7.5.
Okay.
Again, when there were very short shots of the actual demon face.
Yes.
That was giving Insidious.
That was giving Insidious, which, yeah, that's true.
And that shit spooked me.
And the demon itself is pretty scary. I wonder if that was Mercedes, like maybe in makeup
Maybe.
at the time. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, again, overall, it was spooky. It was scary.
I loved it.
It was creepy. So yeah, 7.5. Nothing too crazy. Satisfactory, 8.5, 8.5.
8.5.
Yeah. I
thought it was
no complaints.
It's a really good classic.
It's a very, very good classic.
This is one of the classics that I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck yeah.
8.5, maybe 8.5, 9. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I agree. Yeah, my scary scale is more of an 8. And that could be younger me talking as well. Because older me didn't think of it as scary. It was just more disturbing. Kind of hard. Some scenes hard to see, but it wasn't awful. Definitely doable. It's definitely a lot of fun. I love it. It's definitely one of the best possession movies, I think. So I give it an 8 for all of the elements that it made me kind of cringe to. So I love it. I think it's really great. The actual exorcism scene. I think what's scariest is just Reagan. Yeah. Reagan is literally just the epitome of like scary in this movie. And I think it's great and it's fun. And then for satisfactory, mine's a 9 out of 10. It's a really, really good classic. I think what knocks it down is, one, it's a 70s movie, so it's a little long. And I know the director's cut is even longer. I think it's like 3 hours. But even at the end of the movie, I was like, where the fuck is the scene where she crawls down backwards from the stairs? And that's apparently like in a director's cut or a deleted scene. So we don't actually see that in the movie unless you get an extended version. And then we were talking about it after the movie too, but there are so many plot holes and we had so many questions.
100%. Like,
the continuity in this is not great.
Is it the Ouija board that possesses her?
Yes, we don't know exactly what possessed her, which
and like,
we assume is the Ouija board. And then at the end of the stairs, the detective finds the head of Pazuzu, or what the father Marin finds at the beginning of the movie. And so, like, how did that end up there? Who's the one that actually gave her the cross under her pillow? Like, there's just a lot of kind of small details that I was like, where are we going with this? Yeah. What's happening? So I think the big essential question is like, why her? Yeah. Why did she get possessed? And I'm going to assume it's because of the Ouija board, because she was playing with it and she said she found it. But then we find, I don't know. It was just like,
and like, why that demon? Like, why can't it be like, who is Captain Howdy?
And who the fuck is Captain Howdy? Is that just like the name that he gave himself in order to kind of let himself in? Yeah, like, because, you know, sometimes obviously they disguise as something innocent, and then she's younger, so she's like, oh. Also, we also don't know why Burke died. Like, because we didn't see him enter the home at any point.
Why?
But we find out that she kills him.
Number one, why did he enter the house? I mean, okay, I know that, you know, they were friends, whatever. Why did the assistant let a grown man in the room alone with a girl who is strapped up?
Yeah. Like, there was just a lot of little things that we were kind of like, what, where are our answers to these questions? Yeah. But I don't know. There was just a lot of plot holes in this. So plot line wise, there was a lot of holes and a lot of questions, which kind of made me like, But overall, it's a really fun horror movie. Like, if you're kind of just not in it for the plot and you're just kind of in it for the horror bits, it's really fun to look at. Yeah. It's really fun to see. Amazing. Remember when she's getting hypnotized and she grabs him by the balls? She said, grab him by the pussy.
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, I think 9 out of 10 for satisfactory for me, and then like an 8 out of 10 for scary. Love this movie. It's great.
Same. Well, I think we are getting close to the end of our very first episode of season 2. Yes. Thanks again for everyone listening. And if you're a new horror freak joining us for the first time, welcome. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. And again, feel free to follow us on social media. We will have everything linked in the description of the episode.
Yes. And just like Jessica says, thank you for tuning in and listening to us. We seriously cannot stress enough how much we appreciate your support. And make sure to tell us tell your horror freaks and family and even strangers about us, just so that we can continue to grow the horror community. We do love receiving and reading your guys' messages about your thoughts and opinions on our episodes. It really helps us grow and really consider what we, how we
can improve
on our episodes and our scripts and everything. So we love it. And so if you like today's episode, then make sure to tune into next week's episode, where we talk about another classic, The Fly, John Carpenter.
Yes, ma'am.
Shout out to him.
And it's quite relevant right now because the flies are out.
The
flies are out here in Texas.
100%.
And I have a lot of bug bites already.
100%. I definitely agree. You know what? You're not wrong. We have flies, mosquitoes, all the little critters are out now.
All the little critters.
Yeah, so we just thought, why not cover the first kind of classic that also gives a little bit of a summer vibe. So let's go ahead and get started with that.
Yeah, how fun.
I'm excited. I have not seen this movie in such a long time. I think it's almost around the same time that I haven't, that I watched The Fly.
I don't remember watching this movie. So this may be the first time. I mean, of course, I'm going to watch it right now.
Of course.
Soon and
I was going to say, I feel like this is one of those that maybe if you're not a fan of like old timer movies, it's not going to be scary, but it's kind of one of those that like if you watched maybe a long time ago, you'd be freaked out and kind of just like disturbed by it. So it's nothing, what is it?
Too cray-cray.
Yeah, nothing cray-cray. But it's a good one. And it's a classic John Carpenter, which we're not going to get to meet him, but he's going to be at the convention that we're going to at the end of this month, which we're really excited about. So shout out to him. Yeah. So we're excited.
All right. Well, I think this concludes today's episode. Thanks again for listening. And again, I'm so excited to be back and talking about some more horror movies. We've got a great lineup of films to review this season, as Monica mentioned earlier today. Earlier this episode.
Yeah, I'm so excited to go over all of these.
Now, Monica, to close off this episode, was this week's movie a movie?
Oh, 100%. Thank you for asking.
Of course. Yes, ma'am.
Because this movie was a movie. Yes, ma'am.
I have to agree.
Ma'am. Yes, that was 100% a movie.
Perfect. Yeah, well, there you have it. Now, we have been your hosts, Jessica
and Monica.
Stay safe.
And stay spooky.
Oof, that was scary. I can't wait to come back next week.